Welcome to Catalan News. Political prisoners. That's how the Catalan president defined the two pro-independence leaders who were jailed yesterday in an unprecedented decision by Spain's National Court. Jordi Cuixart and Jordi Sànchez, responsible for organizing the biggest pro-independence demonstrations ever, always peacefully, are to spend their second night in prison. They were imprisoned without bail while they await trial on sedition charges. The court decision escalated tensions between Catalonia and Spain even more, promoting condemnation from almost all the political spectrum. Hundreds of people protested in the streets, while a big march is expected on Saturday. Here at Catalan News, we've got all the details. Let's begin. It was supposed to be a truce, a 3-day period for both Madrid and Barcelona to reflect on whether or not they should engage in negotiations over independence plans. The Catalan government offered to open a 2-month period of discussions, keeping an independence declaration on hold. The Spanish executive said that this, though, was not enough, and warned that it could suspend Catalonia's self-government tomorrow. And then the unexpected happened. A judge decided to jail 2 pro-independence leaders. That is why hundreds of people took to the streets to demand their release. Holding candles in an atmosphere of peace, citizens demanded the release of the Catalan pro-independence leaders, saying they were unfairly incarcerated. Hundreds joined each other in central Barcelona, but also in other cities across Catalonia to support Sànchez and Cuixart, as well as also their families as they spend their first 24 hours in prison. Our colleague Alan Ruiz is in central Barcelona where the protest is taking place. Alan, what is going on?
Hi Rachel, we are at the crossroads between Diagonal and Passeig de Gràcia, one of the most centric spots in Barcelona. People are chanting things like, "You are not alone," "Freedom for the Jordis," as well as, "With political prisoners, there is no democracy." In a matter of hours, the pro-independence organizations, the Catalan National Assembly and Òmnium Cultural have managed to organize once again a massive demonstration. Thousands of people took to the street to protest against the imprisonment of their political leaders. And I say another massive demonstration because these are the 2 organizations which in recent years, actually since 2012, has managed to organize massive demonstrations for Catalonia's National Day. Actually, quite ironically, a Catalan MP yesterday tweeted a picture of these massive demonstrations, of several of these massive demonstrations, and added a comment. They put in prison, he said, the ones who organized this, and added, genius.
Thank you, Alan Ruiz from central Barcelona. Citizens are protesting against the imprisonment of the 2 pro-independence leaders. But what are the men being accused of? This is a summary of the dramatic events that, yesterday, ended up with these 2 civil society leaders sleeping in prison.
2 pro-independent civil society leaders have been jailed while awaiting trial for sedition charges. Jordi Cuixart and Jordi Sànchez were sent to prison without bail. The prosecutor argued that the leaders of the ANC and Òmnium mobilized thousands of people on September the 20th and 21st to protest Spanish police raids on Catalan government buildings. The judge says the demonstrators prevented Spanish police from carrying out their work. The pro-independence leaders arrived at the Soto del Real prison in Madrid at around 11 p.m. on Monday night. According to Spanish law, they could spend up to 2 years in preventive custody. The same judge, however, decided not to jail the Catalan police chief and released him without his passport. Accused of not having done enough to stop the October 1st referendum, the Mossos chief will have to appear in court every fortnight. The judge did not blame individual officers, but holds the Catalan police chief responsible for acting in direct connection with Catalan pro-independence leaders. The judge stated that Sànchez and Cuixart have an essential role in the alleged sedition and accused them of collaborating in a complex strategy that sought the execution of a roadmap designed to achieve the independence of Catalonia. According to the judge, both leaders are part of a strategic committee with specific functions to execute. From prison, the 2 pro-independence leaders asked people to demonstrate and to protest peacefully against their imprisonment.
Doncs ens han demanat, sobretot a la ciutadania, que transmetem un missatge de serenor i de calma, de pacifisme, que tothom pugui manifestar-se pacíficament i que ells rebutgen qualsevol tipus de violència i que, sisplau, tothom s'ho prengui amb molta serenor.
The initial investigation focused on the September 20th and 21st demonstrations, when the 2 biggest pro-independence organisations, ANC and Òmnium, called on people to gather peacefully in front of Catalan government buildings in response to Spanish police raids and the arrests of high-ranking Catalan officials. The case was then extended to include events during the October 1st referendum. The two pro-independence leaders are also accused of inciting people to protest in front of polling stations on referendum day, thus impeding police officers from closing them down. Meanwhile, the Catalan police chief is accused of failing to stop the vote from taking place. Cuixart and Sànchez are facing up to 15 years in prison.
The arrests of the presidents of the Catalan National Assembly and Òmnium Cultural have indeed affected the political landscape in Catalonia, in a critical moment for negotiations between Madrid and Barcelona. Tomorrow is the final deadline set by Madrid for Catalonia to end its independence plans or face the end of its self-government. In recent days, the pro-independence front started to show some disagreements on how to proceed. But the imprisonment of two of its leaders has united almost everyone in Catalonia in condemning the judicialization of what many see as, basically, a political problem.
Parties representing 3 in 4 lawmakers in Catalonia have completely renounced last night's imprisonments. Even the socialists, which flatly rejected the October 1st referendum and are against the government's independence plans. They say that the law will not solve this conflict, but politics.
Considero que és totalment desproporcionada la mesura d'ingrés a presó, dificulta el diàleg, encara que crec que hem d'insistir tots plegats amb el diàleg.
The mayor of Barcelona, Ada Colau, expressed a similar position. She is the leader of Catalonian and Spain, a party ambiguous over independence, but in favor of an agreed referendum.
Las detenciones no ayudan en absoluto, todo lo contrario a que haya un clima de diálogo. Eso es evidente. O sea, hoy Cataluña se ha levantado triste y se ha levantado mucho más preocupada. Esas detenciones, vistas desde la inmensa mayoría de Cataluña, no se entienden.
The 3 main parties supporting the government's roadmap towards independence have also condemned the judge's ruling. The question hanging over them now is clear. Is it worth waiting any longer for an unlikely dialogue with Spain? The Catalan president suspended the independence declaration last week in favor of dialogue. In fact, despite rejecting the judge's decision yesterday in Madrid, the Catalan executive said today that it is still willing to hold talks. Its spokesman said that after Madrid's final deadline of Thursday for independence plans to be stopped, Rajoy's cabinet will show if it wants to open dialogue or not. If, as hinted, Spain takes control of Catalan self-rule, Barcelona might be forced to take action. What is certain is that imprisonments will not make the pro-independence movement back down.
Well, if somebody simply believes that putting the 2 leaders to jail, or even the government, whoever, this situation will disappear, well, it's simply misreading the situation. It's simply misreading the reality.
Officials of the president's party, PDeCAT, and the other major pro-independence party, Esquerra, expressed doubts today over the odds that Madrid will be willing to talk. Meanwhile, far-left CUP has already suggested a general strike until the prisoners are released. It has also pushed the executive to lift the declaration suspension. The party claims that there is no need to wait more and that the Republic needs to be proclaimed now.
Meanwhile, in Madrid, the Spanish government and the People's Party celebrated the judge's decision to jail the pro-independence leaders, saying it demonstrates that the rule of law works in Spain. In fact, conservative politicians, along with representatives from Ciudadanos, dismissed accusations of a lack of separation of powers between the executive and the judges, and even warned that more measures might be taken soon to keep pro-independence parties away from power.
There are no political prisoners in Spain. This is what the Spanish government repeated again and again, a day after pro-independence grassroots leaders were sent to jail as a precautionary measure with a pending trial on sedition.
De presos políticos. Hombre, no, a lo mejor podemos hablar de políticos presos, pero nunca de presos políticos, porque la prisión decretada ayer es por la hipotética comisión de un delito que tiene que ver con impedir a las fuerzas de seguridad hacer su trabajo.
Prosecutors alleged that Sànchez and Cuixart played a key role in demonstrations ahead of the October 1st referendum, even though they repeatedly called on people to remain peaceful. On September 20th and 21st, people in Barcelona took to the streets to protest against a police operation to halt preparations for the vote. The Spanish government delegate in Catalonia argues that these protests cannot be considered peaceful as a police car was damaged and officers were impeded from doing their job. With the arrest of the pro-independence leaders, the Spanish justice system has taken a hard stance against secessionists in Catalonia. Some voices within Spain's ruling People's Party, however, are willing to go even harder. The leader of the party in Catalonia calls for banning political programs which advocate disobedience of Spanish law. He says a party should not be allowed to run in the elections advocating for an independence declaration. and he is not the only one to back this idea.
Hay países democráticos que no permiten partidos que vayan contra la propia configuración del Estado, contra la propia existencia de la nación. Yo lo que he dicho es que eso se podría plantear.
In the early 2000s, Basque parties were illegalized for their links with the terrorist organization ETA. Its most prominent leader, Arnaldo Otegi, faced a 10-year conviction and was freed after 6.5 years. Yet it is to be seen whether the current Spanish law could be used to ban parties that reject the use of violence in order to achieve their political means.
In Brussels, however, not everyone is so convinced about the Spanish judiciary action. A group of members of the European Parliament protested in Brussels against what they see as an undemocratic and authoritarian decision that only complicates the situation in Catalonia further. However, the European Commission keeps silent and says that this imprisonment is an internal affair of Spain.
One mistake after another mistake. The people in Madrid, in the government, are in conflict with the basics of democracy. If in any country of the world somebody would imprison the leaders of peaceful demonstration, we would scream that somebody is violating the basic human rights. The same applies for Spain.
You should expect this to happen in Turkey, you should expect this to happen in Russia, but not in the EU.
We are calling to Madrid to find a way for political solution, to find a way to take up a dialogue with the people in Catalonia. We don't need any escalation.
I've no further comments to make on this process that is happening within the internal legal and constitutional order of Spain. This is an internal matter for Spain, and I'm not going to comment on anything around it.
Novelists Dan Brown and Irvin Welsh usually write very different books about very different subjects. Yet they've both spoken up at the same time about a new topic, the situation in Catalonia. Welsh, author of Trainspotting, took to social media to condemn the imprisonment of the grassroots pro-independence leaders in jail awaiting investigation for sedition. The Da Vinci Code writer, meanwhile, while in Barcelona for the presentation of his new book, Origin, precisely set in the city, also expressed his concern.
I have deep love for Spain, deep love for Catalonia. This, of course, is a heartbreaking and troubled time. I have sincere hope and am quite optimistic that everything will get worked out. And I just feel that, one of the reasons I write is in hopes of creating dialogue. And dialogue, more than ever in troubled times, is absolutely critical. That we take time to listen to people and share ideas, especially with the people whose ideas are not our own. And I'm very optimistic that that's exactly what will happen.
Civil society organizations, trade unions, and other entities from the economic, social, and cultural sectors are calling for a massive demonstration on Saturday in Barcelona to protest against the arrest of the two pro-independence leaders. Today, workers already held a 15-minute break to express their condemnation of the imprisonments, and discussions of a general strike are already underway in an attempt to attract the interest of foreign media and leaders. Only time will tell what will happen next. We'll be back tomorrow with all the latest on Catalonia. We leave you with some footage of the sporadic pots and pans protest in the streets of Catalonia yesterday evening, shortly after the imprisonments were announced. Thanks for watching, and see you tomorrow.